It's been 6 years of podcasting, and without our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to bring these podcasts to you. So I want to thank today's sponsors. And first off, we have the Pretentious Pickle Company of 190 Water Street in Plymouth. If you haven't had a chance to get down there, go down and check out what they make. They have everything pickled you can imagine, from pickled beets to carrots to mushrooms to onions to Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. They even have pickled or pickled flavor cotton candy, I should say. They make it fresh there every day, and you can go in there and check out what they have to offer. And if you're not in the Plymouth area, you can go to pretentiouspickle.com and check out what they have to offer there as well, and they will ship it out to you. Their stuff is delicious. You should check it out, and they are big fans of ours, and we are big fans of theirs. So thank you to the Pretentious Pickle Company for sponsoring today's episode. And our second sponsor today is Moonrise Cinemas. Moonrise Cinemas is a new drive-in in Plymouth, right on the Plymouth-Kingston line. They are located at 428 Court Street in Plymouth, Mass. And they offer a great selection of movies. You can go. It's very family-friendly. I went and checked out the Goonies there. They've had Marvel movies, a wide variety of stuff. And they're really starting to expand. They have had the Rocky Horror Picture Show this coming year. They're doing music on Thursday nights. On Wednesdays are going to be 420 friendly events. So make sure you check out what they have to offer, moonrisecinemas.com. It's a great venue. They have a beer garden. They have their own food. Their food's phenomenal. And they're bringing back their French toast, which I'm very excited about. So make sure you check out what they have to offer, moonrisecinemas.com. And if you use code Inebri-art when purchasing tickets, you'll get 10% off. So make sure you go to moonrisecinemas.com to get your tickets for movies, concerts, and more. And use code Inebri-art for 10% off on your purchase. And now let's jump right into the podcast.
Across the line, the Gulf Stream, I've been in Tampa Bay, around the Horn, and home again, 'cause that is the sailor's way.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am your host, Andy. As always, I am joined by co-host Hanna.
Hello.
What's up, Hanna?
Nothing.
And the elusive creature from the Bridgewater Triangle, producer Fish Boy.
Please stop banging the table.
Oh, sorry.
Oops.
Was I banging the table?
Yes, you were banging
doing
the
that with my
table.
notes. Sorry, I don't normally have notes in my notes.
I'm going to get you that blue foam pad so you don't bang the table.
Okay.
Are we really getting the blue phone pad?
I guess so. So, Hanna, well, he does that, and I'm not ever going to tap the table again. What are we talking about today?
We're going to play old school, I think. Kind of similar to the way we did our... What was it? Unsolved Mysteries?
We did an Unsolved Mysteries one.
And you guys got to take turns
We did.
chipping in with some notes. So we're playing it the same way today.
Sounds like a plan.
But we're doing it unsolved in a way, right? Because we're talking about
Cryptids.
Yep. And those are yet to be proven real.
There you go. That's the best way to describe it. Yet to be proven real creatures.
Yes. Because there are some cryptids that have been
No.
proven. Yeah, that fish.
It was not.
It's not really a cryptid. Okay, so
Yeah.
the key point to being a cryptid is there have to be legends about it.
Yeah.
And then people have to find it.
That fish.
Right, but there
were
wasn't
no
legends about
There
it.
were no legends about the coelacanth.
Like people
It was-
weren't like, oh, I saw a coelacanth and it ate my dog.
That you know of.
Yeah.
Yes, and we mean it. Yeah, there weren't any because it was living
Yeah.
way at the bottom of the Indian Ocean.
And
don't
then-
really have myths
So it was
about
thought to be
Extinct.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a different
It's
category
a
of
different
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like cousins.
What about Champ? Which
Okay.
I almost did Champ. I'm not going to talk about Champ, but I almost talked about Champ.
I don't want to talk.
The Lake Champlain.
Yeah, Champ's not real.
But Champ, they found a giant. They don't.
They made for a documentary they were making about Champ, and then it sank.
No, not a machine.
finish, man.
Geesh, Louise.
Sorry, I know what we're talking about.
I know too. I
I
went
don't
to the
think you
museum
do,
about
'cause
it.
She's saying no, you did.
So I'm not talking about any animatronic thing. They found they have pictures and stuff of there's like giant either python or anaconda skin that was around Lake Champlain, and that's what they think it actually was.
But then the argument is
So it wasn't actually a thing,
right. It was
But
something else. that was
kinda. It was an animal where it wasn't supposed to be,
Yeah.
which I always think is fun. And you can still call him Champ.
I can call Andy Champ too. It's not.
No, his name is Champ. I think it would still be, to me, that would still be the creature is still
Yeah.
Champ. You know what I mean? It's
I know
just
what
an
you're saying.
explained,
Yeah.
a more reasonable
But
explanation
it's
for
not
it. It's not the Loch Ness
It's
Monster.
not a Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
It's something that would have been mistaken for. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Still,
It's somebody's escaped pet snake.
I guess, but it was there for a while. It was really cool. The skin was giant. It went from like the end of this room to this room
someone's pet snake ate them
and escaped.
and escaped.
And because you guys haven't been to that museum, and
No, not yet.
so it's there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's on the to-do list.
Yes. the Portland, Maine.
Portland, yeah.
Portland,
Yeah.
Maine, yeah.
It's on the. Well, it's on me and Andy's to-do list. I guess we'll put it on the Old Colony Cast to-do
I'd-
list
Yeah,
over
I'd
summer.
love to go back.
All right.
Yeah.
Is what we do on our summer vacation.
Yeah. Well, I'll reach out and see if we can get them on. It'll be fun. But to get into the story,
Yeah. Other things.
should we like rock paper scissors? Who goes first?
Maybe, do you want to go first just in case there's an
An emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An emergency?
A podcasting emergency. Okay. So mine is, first of all, to all our indigenous friends, I'm making a sincere apology for any mispronunciations you are about to hear. Because it is not... English is my second language and somehow my only language. So this is Moshup the Giant. What? You making a face?
Nothing.
Wait, you didn't do that, right?
No, I didn't. It just have a lot to do with it.
Shut up, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
All right, because there's a little bit of crossover.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, can I make a note for edit at this moment?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you consider that a cryptid?
I have an explanation for that.
Okay.
So
Let's
you
go.
can leave that right in there because
Okay.
I'm going to... I started reading about this, and it was definitely more legend than cryptid.
Yeah.
However, a cryptid is an what do we say? Unproven...
Not yet.
Not yet proven.
Yeah, it's
To ex-
believed to exist, but not proven to exist.
So,
Yeah.
the legend of this is a Mohegan and Wampanoag legend, and there was a indigenous person by the name of, and again, I am so sorry, Takanash, who took a trip over to it was pronounced two different ways, or written two different ways. I have it written here as Nope Island or Noepi Island, which is Martha's Vineyard, and returned with a story of a creature that he saw. Boom, cryptid. Just because it's an old cryptid doesn't make it not a cryptid.
I guess for me, I think that like the Wampanoag's creation story comes from Moshop, and it's a little bit more.
Somewhat. Some of it.
Yeah.
Don't jump ahead in my notes, Hannah. That's
I'm not
really rude to do.
I just don't know if it's necessarily because I know that so much of
There's
what
not
we
a lot
consider.
of cryptids in Massachusetts. I was trying to find one. So
Okay, well,
that's my backdoor
either
way
way.
into making this legend a cryptid because Takanash said he saw it and was not well.
Okay, continue.
All right.
I will hesitate and not
Okay.
interrupt you any longer.
That's fine. I do it to you all the time. So there are several legends that kind of like intersect, and so one was, or kind of the earliest one is that Moshup lived on mainland. Moshup lived on mainland Massachusetts, and there were missing children and talk of a giant bird that was coming in and stealing people. I saw it as man-eating bird. I saw it as one that was stealing children and livestock. Not livestock, but deer and whatnot.
Yeah.
So Moshup decided he was going to put an end to it and tracked it out to this island, Martha's Vineyard, where he fought killing the man-eating bird and killed it when it tried to like rip his heart out, and found like a bunch of little baby birds and he killed them. But he dug Martha's Vineyard so much that he kind of like made that his place, and that he lived out on the cliffs near Gayhead and
Aquina.
Yep. Yep, I have that here.
There you go.
I was going to say that too. See, it's right there. You can't read it. I can barely read it.
Sorry.
And that there's evidence of a crater where he used to sit. They say that's like sitting where he sits. That was his great seat. And there were, like, one story just talks about him. However, and this is probably a bit of overlap, there is discussion where he was married. And he was married to Granny Squant, or Squant, I saw in another story. And this is the interesting thing. So I saw Granny Squant was the leader of the magical woodland little people. But Squant was listed as a sea woman. So weirdly, there's contradictory information there. So he would hang out on Martha's Vineyard, and he had like a den in the cliffs where him and his family and pets lived. And he would wade out into the water and hunt whales with his bare hand and would throw them up against the cliffs.
Now, why was he able to hunt whales with his bare hand?
Because he's a giant.
I don't know if you mentioned that
I said
yet.
Moshup the giant, didn't I?
Yeah.
He did? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait.
In the very beginning, I said Moshup the giant, and then you jumped all over my case that he wasn't cryptid. Wow, she's really critical of me. I did research and everything, Hannah. I made notes. Where was I? Oh, so he would throw the whales up against the cliffs, which leads to part of the reason why the cliffs are red. He would share his food with the local indigenous people, and they in turn would give him tobacco. And he had a great pipe, and he would smoke from the great pipe. Actually, I saw one, they said they traded him tobacco and strong drink that made him hallucinate and saw whales chasing deer in the woods.
Oh, wow.
The good stuff.
Yeah, so let's get some of that. But he would smoke from his pipe, and when he emptied his pipe out, I'm assuming it was not one time, but that is what Nantucket is the ashes of his pipe.
Oh, cool.
So, blah, 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 catches with whales with his hands. It also says that he would rip the trees up out of Aquinnet, the land around Aquinnet, to make his fire to cook the whale meat, and that's why there's few and far between trees left in the area. I'm sorry, it is a little all over the place. There is a description of him, which was like the fourth article I found. So Takanash described him as having black skin, unkept hair, with a beard and unkept hair that was gull gray, that he had very white teeth and slimy green teeth, but only had 2 teeth. So he was a looker.
Did they meet, or were they like on the same?
It didn't really. So the story is that Takanash came back and relayed the story of this giant.
Yeah.
But didn't really. He had to have met him because in other stories, he shared his whale meat with the indigenous people. He was said to be good-natured and cheerful, unless he was angered, which, I mean, kind of most people are like that.
I'm often in a good mood until I'm angry.
Yeah, and we don't like you when you're angry. So it also said that he would hunt the whales, and that he threw large stones into the water so he could kind of like step across them. And these stones are still said to be there. And they're the stones that lead from Cuttyhunk to the mainland that is called the Devil's Bridge. He's also... His legend wasn't just in Massachusetts. They said he threw stones all over Connecticut. That's why Connecticut's so stony. That he stubbed his toe on a crab or became angry and his feet became fiery red and he stomped his feet all over and he said there's footprints all over. But then I couldn't find anywhere that gave example of where his footprints are. But that was one of the stories.
It could just be like the divots in the, you know what I mean? Like the terrain or whatever.
So it didn't really specifically give a location of any. So the locals were said to have blamed their bad weather and rough seas when he was angry and having marital arguments with Granny Squant.
Yeah, I heard she was, could get very fickle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would blame the fog on him smoking his pipe.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very cool story.
Yeah.
The whales, the bridge, trees, got that. So, it was said at one point that he had a vision or a dream and that he went to the Wampanoag and spoke of light-skinned people coming to the land and that they should absolutely not let them land here. And so when the pilgrims arrived, that is when Moshup, the giant, he's a giant Hanna,
Yeah.
left, and he waded into the water, and he and his children turned into whales, and I heard killer whales in some stories. Granny Squant melted into the cliff face of Aquinnet, and his pets, it didn't say what pets he had, just that he had pets, that his pets turned to stone.
All right.
Okay, I'm wondering what kind of pets do you think he had?
I don't
Do you think Moshup the Giant was a dog person?
Yeah, he's too cool to have cats. So definitely a dog. He's a giant. A cat would be
a pet.
You know.
I mean, unless it was a mountain lion, or a bobcat.
Yeah.
I mean,
They got some heft.
maybe I was thinking more like
a bear.
a deer, or a bear. Be cool.
Yeah.
Panther. There used to be panthers around here. So something cool.
Mountain lions and panthers,
Oh my.
the same.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Panther's the nickname for him or
For
whatever.
some reason, there are 9 different terms for mountain lions.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was literally just looking at a thing about that
it's
the other day.
Yeah. Why? It's the same cat, but we just love slapping a different name on it. depending on
Actually,
where
it was
is.
a Betty White show talking about big cats, and she went through all the names for them. It was very cool. Anyway,
And he also had a hippopotamus, just because. Prove me wrong. So that's it. That is my
now did that
definite air quote cryptid.
did they say that was the end of him, or that
It was implied that he would return,
yes,
but there was no
right.
Moshup to Electric Boogaloo story.
Okay.
Just kind of
I
someday he will return.
I feel like I should go next
Yeah.
because our stories are very.
You guys seem to have.
Yeah. So when I
I should have told you about Champ.
or the
Well, I knew about
Gloucester
Champ.
sea serpent, or sorry,
know there's other ones.
I
but
know.
I was just trying to find one I didn't hear about, and I hadn't heard of him, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
you just-
oh, this is kind of legendy. I don't know if this is gonna count. I'm like, I found a loophole.
Okay,
it's a
you did it.
it's a stretch, but we'll accept it because
It
you're
fits
busy.
the definition of cryptid, a yet unproven creature, and Takanash reported a yet unproven creature. I feel like that fits the cryptid.
I feel like a lot of people reported it though, because he was
I know that
trading.
was weird. That was the weird thing about the story because it was it made it sound like this guy with this wild story, and then like, oh, and he also shared his meat, and they shared tobacco with him. I'm
Yeah,
like, but
he
I
was.
thought it wasn't.
He
like
was like friendly with the people who lived
I'll
on Aquina.
freely admit that I was liberal with the term cryptid.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the pukwudgies, and I think you owe me like 4 or 5 interruptions, so feel free to...
I never interrupt you.
I'm saying
I don't
because,
jump ahead in your notes and
because I got
spoil
you.
things.
I think that was the count. You're good. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm just going to sit here and listen quietly. But you're going to have to interrupt her a lot.
So
I believe in me.
you guys know about what people usually call them pukwudgies.
Yeah.
But the pronunciation that I saw was bugwudgies. So a little different.
Okay.
Also, many different pronunciations just because this creature is in several different tribes. So in their tall tales, their legends, what have you. The Chippewa, Wampanoag, Algonquin, Abenaki, and Mohican. So they're spread all over the northeastern, southern Canada, out to like the Great Lakes. Other tribes also have similar creatures, but with different names. So we know them to be mischievous, humanoid, little people.
I always envision them as being hairy.
So the description that we have so I looked at nativelanguages.org, so it is like a native originated site, and it doesn't actually describe them as hairy. Said having gray skin, but maybe there's hair on the skin. They just didn't talk about the hair.
Like I said, I envision them that way. I don't know if I've ever read that description. Or
yeah,
just like
in
my
the
head,
pictures
that's
I
kind of
see
like,
online,
They tend to be drawn as little hairy dudes.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's a drawing that
Yeah.
for sure. I've seen pictures online of them like almost like hedgehoggy,
yeah.
like no hair on the front and like more on the
Yeah.
long on the back,
Yeah.
but like head down all the way to the back, past the bum. But there's a lot of different spellings, and 20 plus. I'm not joking.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because I think depending on what tribe you were part of, and like
It's probably a slightly
yeah.
different language
Yeah.
and a slightly
yes, dialect of it, right? So
Yeah.
the stories of them have been told for a long time. So I think the cryptid we know of them today, like Bridgewater Triangle, mostly for Massachusetts,
Yeah.
even sightings in Burial Hill. Different, I don't know. I feel like some of them are in the same plane because they're magical, right? A lot of people, if you had to compare to someone who had never heard of them,
Yeah.
like gnomes or something like that, would be like one that has been drawn just because they're magical creatures that can appear and disappear. They can shapeshift into pretty much any animal. They can create fire. They're just very magical beings. So whatever you think could happen, they could probably make happen. And they're very trickstery. They can, they like to mess around with people.
Yeah.
Give people a hard time. They are described by some tribes as just being like harmless tricksters, and others, like the Wampanoags, like as being intentionally harmful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so pushing people off of cliffs, stealing children. The works. Just really not cool stuff.
Sounds like a scapegoat being like, I didn't push my
Yeah.
It was a pukwudgie.
So, like I said, it all depends on like regionally what they believe them to be.
Yeah.
Generally troublesome, just the level of troubling was the variated difference.
Yeah, they go from trickster to
Homicidal.
yeah,
Homicidal maniacs.
tiny little homicidal maniacs.
Yeah. So the Spirit of New England, Indian history and folklore. I've read some pieces of that. It gave a very thorough explanation of not the creation of pukwudgies. I couldn't really find that, but just how aligned with the story of Mashup they are. So him and his wives and his 5 sons They would butt heads with the pukwudgies a lot, like because they.
So mine wasn't a cryptid,
Yeah.
but is in your story about cryptids.
Yeah.
I will argue that Hannah's is a little more cryptidy than yours.
I will too, but I'm just pointing out the,
Because no one,
I saw Moshup the other day.
look, all I'm saying is, aside from your blatant lie, there aren't any modern
It wasn't a
sightings
blatant
of
lie. He
Moshup.
texted me and he's like, "That fish is a jerk," and I'm like, "I know."
Oh, that fish.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know.
No,
And then he sent me like a little whale emoji.
that's the thing, Andy. He's in the ocean now. He's a whale.
So
He could be talking about any fish.
he was pretty specific.
I'm, in fact, the least likely fish you would see because I'm not in the ocean.
Yeah, he knows you. He's heard stories.
Yeah. So the pukwudgies who were at just kind of at odds with the people,
Yeah.
and like they were always, I don't know, just messing around with them. And Moshup, since he was generally very nice, he didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
And
It sounded like
yeah, a little bit of a rivalry. And the pukwudgies became jealous because the people loved him, and they didn't like the pukwudgies. So it made them even more like vindictive and ready to mess around, and also made them not like Moshup
yeah.
and his family. So there were
Moshup was like, "I'm a cryptid," and the Pukwudgies are like, "No, you're not."
Yeah, get out of here. So there were 7 bands of pukwudgies, like, little clans or whatever.
Okay.
There weren't a lot of pukwudgies in them, but they all had their own leader. The leader within that group had the most magic, and then there was like a chief of all the pukwudgies.
Oh, okay.
And he had the most magic. He had a very decorated shell necklace, and he was covered in green leaves.
All right.
Yes. And he had the greatest magic of them all. They most commonly...
Love.
Yeah. How did you know? He was going to heal their problems with love. No, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. They carried arrows and bows and like poison darts and stuff like that too. So that was their weapon of choice. They would also mess with people who were like hunting and like transform into bears. So like people would think they were about to kill a bear, and all of a sudden it'd be like a pukwudgie, and then like just disappear.
Okay.
And you're like, crap, I didn't kill
Where'd
that
the bear
beer. But I was also just terrified because that thing was still coming after me after I shot it, because like modern weapons weren't working on them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In that way.
Yeah.
Not like it said that specifically, but it implied that whatever you were using wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So he stayed in Popponesset Bay, at like the marshes in that area.
Is this the head guy?
The head guy
Okay.
with his little clan, and then they all had like their own areas that like kind of took over. So a few other things they were known for. So they trained the Tepai Wonkas, so will-o'-the-wisps, which are
Oh, okay.
Yeah, little glowing fairy lights that wander, that basically, in myth, lead people to their death in the woods.
Yes.
Because you chase the lights thinking it's safety, and then it disappears, and you're dozed.
So I read somewhere in Wampanoag tellings that those are actually the souls of like deceased warriors.
Okay.
So they'd like use the light from like their own people against them, kinda, and would do just what Fish said.
Yeah.
They'd set them up, like have them like go down trails that were going to lead them into danger, and then they'd get stuck in the marshes where they said the devil was, and they'd get like essentially like quicksanded
Yep.
and like sucked into the earth. And that was one way they
Dispatch people.
Yes, yeah, pretty crazy. After they became jealous of Moshup, they started playing more tricks specifically on him, not just the people. And he got sick of it, so he started searching like the landscape, looking for them, like looking through the tall grasses and like trying to see what he could find. He wasn't having any luck. He had his 5 sons come and help him. And while they were searching, the pukwudgies used it like as a distraction to get closer, because they had no idea where they were. They were like looking for your contact on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's just interesting. Like the whole time, I like it never. The only intersection
Yeah.
pukwudgie was a granny squannet.
yeah.
That I'm like, that sounds like a pukwudgie.
No, that was his. I think I have a different spelling of her name too, but
Well, I had Squant and listed as a sea woman, and
Yeah.
Granny Squannet, which she was the leader of magical woodland little people.
it wouldn't. I didn't. It didn't align that way on this.
Yeah.
Because she too disliked them.
Okay.
From what I read, but
Yeah.
there were also like the kind of the what you probably ran into different variations of like the story.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was hard for me to find like one
One
true line
yeah,
through it.
exactly.
Yeah. So they were so close to the ground that the pukwudgies were able to like use bad magic in their eyes and blind them. So he blinded his sons, and then they shot poison darts at his sons, eventually killing them.
Jeez.
Yeah. And that's when they were like near the marshes, and Mashop carried their bodies into Succonesset waters and covered them in sand, and they became small islands, what we know as the Elizabeth Islands.
Huh.
Yeah. And then Mashop wanted to, after that, rid the land of all the pukwudgies. So that was what he was set off to do, but then one day he interceded a boat, but at first he thought it was a white bird, and then he felt what he thought was the sting of arrows on him, and it sent him like really like terrified him. So he grabbed his wife, threw his wife into like what I thought they were talking about, the cliffs or something like that, or like
Yeah.
I think they described it as like somewhere on the Cape.
Mm-hmm.
And he fled and went south, and they think he eventually died from the poison darts of the pukwudgies. But they
No, he turned into a whale.
yeah, but they said if he could return,
Yeah.
he would. Like
Huh.
so they think he likely died.
It's so weird. Like
I
this listeners, this was not planned.
I know.
Like
And
feels like it is though. Like
I'm a little concerned that you guys ended up very, very close to the same page.
yeah.
So that's why I was like, did they say that was the end of how like the end of his like life, or was it just like something that happened and then he continued to live after?
It was definitely an implication like he's alive out there somewhere and will return someday.
Well, I didn't know if maybe this happened after that incident, but I did see like an explanation of what it could have been interpreting the story as, like that the boat was a boat of settlers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he left scared because he was like, he thought they were bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took it as like a bad
which
magic.
He was
Which,
accurate.
to be fair, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So they, it's just something along those lines too, where it was
Yeah.
like the boat was likely had something to do with
I was-
colonizing.
Yeah, it's weird. So the only thing that like about his feet was, it was described weird. It didn't necessarily say that he stubbed his toe on a crab, but like discovered a crab with his foot, which made him stomp his feet or whatever.
Yeah,
Like, it was
giant stuff. Yeah.
it was weird, weirdly worded.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that like there was like mention of children,
Yeah.
but never how many or what kind.
Yeah.
or what their names were,
Or that any of them died. Like in what
Yeah.
I read, they all turned into whales and swam away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, oh, maybe they were just whales for a little bit, and then they came back and they had this pukwudgie battle, and I don't know. I have no idea. It was very
But
cool.
what was the date on your pukwudgie? You don't have one? Oh.
I'd like to see, because this was such a quick episode, and I just wanted to give more like history of pukwudgies, because I feel like most people who like cryptids and
Know
live in
of
this
them,
area
yeah.
know of them and know what they're about. Like I didn't need to go through the basic explanation of what they like are and look like and
mean-
do.
I mean, fair, but at the same time, not everyone is going to be into cryptids. Some of them just like our
No, that's why I prefaced it. Anyone who likes cryptids and lives in the area knows what they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sake of people who don't, I didn't want to go too crazy on like recent things, but if you search pukwudgies online, you're going to like sightings, you're going to find stuff. Like it's definitely something that people
you're probably going to find the Bill Russo sighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, to be honest, is the only good part of the Bridgewater Triangle documentary.
Yeah, there's also been just different takes on some people, like the Freetown State Forest obviously has like troublesome past also with people going there for like reasons that they're unhappy with their life, and that's where they go to, to figure that out and whatever means they feel is best. And then some people have taken, people who have been found at the bottom of cliffs, like as pukwudgies pushing them off the cliff in recent times. So I thought that was interesting in one way to put it, but I don't know. Lots of different things have happened in that forest that if that cryptids have
there's enough.
That's a whole nother episode.
taken the fall for.
The Freetown State Forest is a whole nother episode that we don't have time to dive into today.
No. I just thought it was interesting. But yeah, if you're from the area, pukwudgies, I think would be you connect it with that area.
I'm so baffled that mine like is connected so
seamlessly
directly to yours.
Yeah.
It was not on purpose. I'm still like a little flabbergasted.
Yeah. Okay, so and now for something apparently completely different, because I was not aware that we were all supposed to tie in. Thanks, guys, for making sure I
You didn't do it about Granny Squant?
No, because I wanted to do probably my favorite cryptid.
I'm excited.
I'm going to do the Dover Demon.
Yes.
Which, okay, God, I have to bust out notes. I don't do notes. All right, so the Dover Demon is basically a one-off sighting from the late 70s by a bunch of kids, and never happened before, never happened again. No one has any real good answer for what it is. But, I mean, all right, and that's no.
I'm excited because I really don't know that much about it.
Okay, so
yeah.
All right, so the first sighting was April 21st.
You got this.
No, I don't. I'm going to slow down.
This is why he edits.
Yes. I'm going to sound so much better in the second. I'm just going to dub my whole thing in ADR. I'll have Roman do it. All right, so the first sighting was April 21st, 1977. Bill Bartlett, a 17-year-old, was driving in Dover with two of his friends in the car. As he was driving, he saw what he thought was like a cat kind of walking, like kind of slow. You know, like when a cat walks and doesn't really know where it's putting its feet, so it kind of like does a little paw thing, and I'm doing a hand motion because that's good radio.
That's okay.
Yeah. So he saw it, and as it came to the headlights, he realized this is so not a cat. It had a watermelon-shaped head, thin arms and legs, big hands and feet, kind of rough orange skin that he described as looking like wet sandpaper, which
definitely not a cat.
No, and glowing orange eyes. And the weird thing is, like,
I'm honestly stuck on the watermelon-shaped
Yeah,
head. What was
me
that
too.
commercial where they would eat the candy?
Gushers.
Thank you.
yes,
Yeah.
basically,
Thank
no,
you.
but like
That's all I could think of.
think more vertically and not like Stewie.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
It's like
So like wide, long face, kind of.
Yeah. Cool.
So he was with his friends who were named Mike and Andy.
You serious?
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
yeah. So
You couldn't write Hanna into your story?
no, Hannah's now going to be played by Bill.
Okay. I'll take it.
All right.
So the three of them went. He saw it, said, "Holy crap, what's that?" They were doing like 45 in a row. They probably shouldn't have been doing 45 on, so they kind of blew past in a couple of seconds. They went further down, turned around, and came back because his friends had no idea what he was talking about, wanted to come back and see it. But it was gone. And that is literally the end of the first sighting. Mm-hmm. Second sighting was about an hour and a half later by a guy named John Baxter. Mm-hmm. By guy, I mean 15-year-old kid.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's a good clarification.
Yeah, because John Baxter sounds like an older
Yeah.
person.
It sounds like a middle-aged man, which he probably is now because this was the late 70s.
Yeah.
He
I don't like
was
you saying a middle-aged man.
he was 15 in 1977. Andy,
I still don't like this.
you were 2.
Yeah, I know. He's still young.
Yes,
Second
very.
childhood. Anyway, he was walking home from his girlfriend's house around midnight, which is a very weird sentence for the 19s at all for the 70s or ever. 'Cause he's a 15-year-old kid walking home at midnight.
I don't know.
I don't know,
Yeah.
70s, I don't think it's that weird.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, I don't. Sorry, I wasn't there. So as he was walking, he basically saw a small figure, like walking towards him up the road. And he didn't really know who it was. He thought it was a buddy of his, because he has a friend who's very short, and
Okay.
assumed it was him. And as he got closer, he realized, oh,
You're right, buddy.
He's like, are those Beagle Boy jeans you're wearing?
it's just, you walk forward and it's like, oh, this is very much not like right.
Yeah.
So basically, they stop, and eventually it runs off the road, and he chases it because he's a 15-year-old and is dumb. And it basically runs down and up a gully and is standing next to a tree. Mm-hmm. And it's basically described it's pretty much the same description as Bartlett had, but without the eye shine and without the color, because it was dark and it was basically just a silhouette.
Okay, yeah.
But he could see it holding the tree, and its feet were basically like gripping, like molding around, like
Yeah.
Monkey style?
Like a
like
claw
prehensile-
foot.
Think like prehensile toes,
Okay.
Monkeys.
like monkeys,
Yeah.
or but yeah, like it was gripping. Then he realized that this was not a great idea. No,
Is it a possum?
it had no tail.
Is it a possum without a tail?
It was also 3.5 feet tall and standing vertically.
Was it a tall possum without a tail?
Anyway.
So he realized that he had made a very poor life choice, and by his own words, walked very fast
Yeah.
back to the road and back until he got to the streets where someone else picked him up and gave him a ride home.
Wow.
And
A stranger, I assume.
I mean, it's
70s, you can
Yeah.
check.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. The one thing I didn't point out: this is in Dover, which is a very small town
Yeah,
in
it is.
northwest. Well, northwest of us, southwest of Boston, like the Needham area.
Yeah.
At the time, it had a population of about 5,000.
Okay.
Today, it's got a population of about 5,000. It is not a very densely populated town.
Yeah.
So odds are he knew.
He knew.
He
yeah.
probably knew who was picking him up, because there just aren't that many people there.
Right, True.
All right. At which point we get to sighting 3, which is the next night. Mm-hmm. It is a Will Tainton.
All right.
I'm not going to giggle at his name.
Yeah.
I so want to. I feel bad for the man. Who is 18, and his girlfriend, Abby Brabham, who is a 15-year-old.
Okay.
70s, it was less weird.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Will, Bartlett, and Tainton had... Oh, God, their names are Will and Bill. I did not
Yeah.
realize this, taking my notes. Anyway, Bartlett and Tainton they all went to school together. They were
Okay.
teenagers. They all go to the same high school. And Bartlett and Tainton were friends, and Bartlett had told Tainton about about what he had seen. So that the next night around midnight, they're driving home, and Abby, who's in the passenger seat, sees something on the left-hand side of the road. Mm-hmm. It's basically the same thing. It's pretty much the same description. The only difference is it had green eyes and not orange,
Okay.
which...
Yeah.
I mean,
know.
it's they're not very close colors, but
No.
I mean, it's explicable. I can get into that in a bit. So they're basically the same. Basically, it's the same sighting. Tainton doesn't really get all he sees is like
A flash.
something kind of browny orange sitting on the side of the road because
Yeah.
he's driving past it, and she panics, says, let's just get out of here, and they just leave. Mm-hmm. And basically, that's literally everything.
Every
That is-
sighting.
it's 3 sightings in a 25-hour period. It's
Wow.
10:30 to like midnight the next night.
Yeah.
That's it.
And no more.
never seen again. Never seen. I mean, you'll have people saying we saw it, but it's one of those things where it's like, did you, or did you just see literally anything?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the thing that really kind of gets me, and the thing that really interests me, is it's a very thoroughly investigated.
Yeah, I thought you had so many details about it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Lauren Coleman, the cryptozoology museum guy who we're talking about visiting later, he lived in Needham at the time.
Oh, okay.
He was literally the next town over.
He was the guy.
He was the guy.
He was on site.
He was the guy on site, and only because Will Bartlett was a very talented artist and basically drew a sketch of the creature.
Oh, cool.
And honestly, Baxter also drew they sketched out what they saw.
Yeah.
Like, they had the picture. The picture got around town because it's a small town. Everyone knows everyone's business is what you do. And Coleman was at the general store, and he just saw, and he was just talking to the counter. They were chatting. He told him about the pictures. Like, oh, that's kind of my whole thing.
Yeah.
So they basically, it was him, and basically just grabbed whoever was in the area, so which is a bunch of UFO specialists.
Right.
Because weird random thingy on the ground. Maybe it's an alien.
Yeah, true.
But they couldn't find any reports of a UFO in the area at the time, so it's kind of a
yeah, creature from the underground or something.
Yeah, from the underground, or another Wampanoag myth,
or I don't know, interdimensional.
Oh yeah, no, but you say that it's one of the arguments of maybe it popped out of nowhere. It's like, guys, when your argument is it popped out of nowhere, it's not a good argument.
Yeah.
But they went in, they questioned everyone, and all the kids seemed like trustworthy and upstanding.
Yeah,
and
all telling the same
didn't
stuff
really
for the most part.
Benefit from the story. They didn't make any money off it. They didn't get any fame.
I'm sure they got teased relentlessly.
They got mocked constantly for, yeah, you saw a thing in the woods, right, buddy? Right.
I don't think
right, Bill.
It's
right,
part of
sure you did.
any teenager's MO to make something like that up.
Yeah, you got any more weed?
Yeah, that's funny.
But that's just a very.
It's
a weird thing.
It's one of its own. You know what I mean?
Such a one-off.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And the thing that weirds me out the most is, on some level, it kind of reminds me of a gray alien.
Yeah, I hear you.
Like, it's, the big eyes, the oblongy head, the spindly little arms and legs.
You know what I was thinking when you told me?
And the timing kind of works, but not quite, because, like, they weren't really a big deal until the 80s.
Yeah, I was thinking of, like, a newborn Pumpkinhead, like from the movie Pumpkinhead. That's what I'm picturing in my head.
I'm going to admit that I've never seen Pumpkinhead.
Oh, you got to.
It's a horror movie?
Yes.
It's not my jam.
It's so good.
I'm nervous enough with real life that horror just makes me more uncomfortable.
I never knew this about you.
I don't like horror movies. I hang out with the spookiest flipping crowd. I do not like horror movies.
It's honestly so ridiculous that it's not scary, if that helps you out.
But I mean...
And Pumpkinhead is not real.
I know. Neither is the Great Pumpkin, Hanna. I'm aware. But the way that it's been explained, or like the closest thing they have to a real argument, is that it's a baby moose.
What? Oh yeah.
No, I mean if you look, at it, it's like spindly legs.
But the feet is what's weird.
The prehensile hands and feet make very little sense.
Are lacking in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the time of year is very wrong.
Yeah.
That's not when moose give birth.
Right.
And any moose that small would be near its mom. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing scary. I've never seen anything scarier than an angry mother moose. Mm-hmm. Believe me, if they were that close to the calf.
Yeah, they would know. I know. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, and plus basically any young moose at that age would weigh roughly 600 pounds. Because they'd be about a year old.
Yeah.
And it's just the timing is off. Nobody was missing like a colt, like a baby horse.
Yeah.
There are a ton of horses.
That's true.
Also, horses don't have fingers. Like, it's so weirdly unexplained.
Yeah. I like it.
And it's so weird. But the one thing that always makes me kind of pause, and this is literally the story that kind of got me into both cryptids and skepticism, because it's like, I mean, really, guys, this seems a little far-fetched. is that it's 4 teenagers who were all friends.
Yeah.
Like, Tainton and Bartlett were best friends.
Right.
So it was Bartlett, not the 2 guys in his car. Baxter, who they'd hang out with at school. And then Tainton and his girlfriend, which is one of those things where it's like, really, it's 4 people. The only 4 people who've ever seen it are all like the same social circle.
Yeah, yeah.
And 3 unconnected sightings. It's
Suspect.
It's very suspect. It's one
I
of those
mean,
things.
cryptids are all suspect, but anyway.
No, but I mean, like, the specific story
Yeah, that
itself
one,
is
yeah.
very suspect, and it's one of those things where I'm like, it's such a stretch.
Right. I know. Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing, but as far as I can tell, the only 2 people who I could find from, like, the story, and where are they now? Because
Yeah.
I was trying to tap into my inner Hanna and do, like, some actual, like,
Yeah.
digging and cyberstalking.
Yep.
The only 2 people I could find were Abby Brabham, the girlfriend,
Yep.
who unfortunately passed away about 5 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she had lung cancer.
That's awful. She's
It's-
young.
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
That's
she was
terrible.
very young. She died very young.
Yeah.
And then the only other person I could find was Will Bartlett. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned, Will Bartlett was a talented artist. Mm-hmm. Will Bartlett is still a very talented artist.
Really?
Like, legitimately, he's an amazing artist. He is literally a professional. He's a professional. He's got a gallery in Needham.
Ooh. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, look for just look for William Bartlett artist.
Okay, will do. So that was cool. I liked all of our stories. It's funny that Andy stole mine.
It's so weird that the 2 of you like
No, I'm joking.
told the same
Yeah.
told the same story
Yeah, I know.
and came at it from not intentionally.
Different
just-
beginnings, different
Yeah.
endings. Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
appreciate
but
the.
he is a very, very talented
I appreciate
portrait artist.
I appreciate that we had those different tellings of
Yeah.
that, because mine was definitely more about obviously the pukwudgies,
Yeah,
but
you did both kind of lean more into the mythology than the.
right.
I'm going to say proper cryptozoology, and which is a bit of a stretch, but like you both did kind of go in more the
Yeah.
like even when you were doing pukwudgies still have sightings.
Yeah,
still
they
have-
do. Yeah, I know. I could have gone into that, but I think because if you don't know right off the bat what they are, then you probably don't know the history of them and
yeah,
where
but
the
at the
site.
same
You know what I
time-
mean?
The one thing about cryptozoology is it's in theory supposed to be current,
Right.
because otherwise you're just talking about basically the mythology of the Wampanoag
You
people.
could do it with it, yeah, and you could apply that with anything. But
Yeah.
I thought it was important to let people know where that cryptid originates
Oh, yeah,
from.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? I was like, if we
I'm gonna
can,
be honest, plus I really like the Bill Russo
yeah,
Pukwudgie story because it's
yes, it is. It's good.
he's a really good storyteller. It's super
Yeah.
creepy, and it's a popular enough story that it popped up in another podcast I was listening to that was set in the Bridgewater Triangle, and it was a straight up,
Right.
like you could tell it was a straight up ripoff. It was from there. It was really, and also the podcast was really good.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I don't know, Hannah. Do you have anything else?
No, is this the part where we stop talking?
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. Thanks again for listening.